When you were handed the key to a new Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick or GMC, rev up your imagination. Think of all the places you can go in some of the most stylish, best quality cars available on the market today. Feel confident driving vehicles with superb dependability and safety ratings. And smile, you saved a ton of money because you bought at Bill Jackson. Let the only thing holding you back be the end of the road. A Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC vehicle will not only change your life, it saves you money like nowhere else.
Troy Cable Security makes it easy to stay aware and stay in control of your home wherever you are. User-friendly interface allows easy navigation for lights, locks thermostat, video, and garage doors. Never worry about leaving your garage door open or the front door unlocked. Your mobile app can send alerts to your phone for alarm and no alarm events. Know when your children arrive home from school with video response. Make sure your home is powered by Troy Cable Security for ultimate access, awareness, and protection.
If you've had an accident or just want a new look for your vehicle, come see us at Troy Paint and Body, where we do it right the first time. Our staff has more than 100 years combined experience and can handle repairs and paint work on any make or model. We also offer a lifetime guarantee as long as you own your vehicle. Our 24-hour towing service means we're here when you need us. Troy Paint and Body, where we may meet by accident, but you'll be glad we did. So come see us at Troy Paint and Body, located on South Brundage Street in Troy beside the post office.
Hey folks, are you tired of spending hard-earned money on a gas grill only to have it burn up in less than 2 years? Not to mention burning your food. Here at Southern Grill and Patio in Troy, Alabama, we carry the Holland Grill line. They've been around since 1988, and there are people right here in Troy that have had theirs for over 20 years. These grills are guaranteed not to flare up. You can grill, steam, or smoke on your new Holland Grill today. Come see us at Southern Grill and Patio in Troy, Alabama, inside Town and Country Flooring Center.
Gas days.
Yeah. Good morning and welcome to Today in Lower Alabama. That's Today in L.A. I'm Mike Amos. He's Bill Rice Jr. Good to see you, my friend.
Good morning.
Bill Rice Jr. just moved back to Troy.
I was emailing with somebody from San Francisco, California the other day, and I said I'm from L.A., Lower Alabama, and he'd heard that before.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No question about it. Of course, this is a Monday as we start May 6th. It's graduation week at Troy University. And we got a call coming in. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hi, morning.
Where you calling from, sir?
Grayton Beach, Florida.
Grayton Beach, Florida. Where is that located? Between Panama City and Fort Worth?
Between Watercolor and Blue Mountain Beach.
Wait a minute, Watercolor, is that a town or a little community?
It's a little community next to Seaside. So you've got Seagrove, Seaside, Watercolor, Grayton Beach, Blue Mountain Beach, and then you've got...
Well, you're not actually associated with anybody related to watercolors, are you? It costs too much, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, all of it costs too much. It's just when you bought it. That's what it comes down to down here, you know?
Yeah, no question about it. Of course, beautiful weather this weekend, even though we had some rain that dampened some of the baseball out, but Troy did win 2 out of 3 against Georgia Southern, which was good.
Yeah, Chase Smart went 9 for 13 during the series. That's pretty good.
He had a great, and got robbed a couple of times then, after that. He started a really...
I think we're starting to see the Chase Smart that led Charles Henderson to the state championship. He's looking pretty amazing right now, his senior year at Troy.
That's a good time to be coming on strong.
Yeah. Rice, this is laid-back television at its very best. Did you get coffee this morning?
I got coffee at 109 South Hillcrest.
Good. We're talking to Bill Rice and Mike Amos from Grayton Beach. And
we want to mention the Alabama softball team won the SEC, swept LSU, and finished the season at 50-6. So looks like they have a team that can probably win it all this year.
Yeah. Let me tell you, Troy softball had a big weekend. They beat South Alabama twice. And, Mike, it came down to a big pitching duel between the Johnson kid from Titletown. That's Brentwood now.
Mm-hmm. You've educated me on that.
And she is quite a pitcher, and she outdueled the former Troy girl.
Yeah, the Yarborough girl.
Yeah. I'd forgotten all about Yarborough. I would have gone over there and watched that, and of course it turned out to be quite a game. And of course Troy won both of them. But the Johnson kid, who is a freshman out of Brantley, Al Duell, and of course the kid that used to pitch here in Troy, Mike, she was one of the top pitchers in the state for a long time. Isn't that right?
Yeah, the losing pitcher yesterday for South Alabama was Alexis Reed. Leanna Johnson is now 25-7 as a pitcher for Troy this year.
And she's
36-18. South Alabama falls to 18-30.
Boy, what happened to South Alabama's team? They were supposed to have a real good team, and Troy's been waxing them, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't keep up with softball probably as much as I should, but I think this is definitely the best year Troy's had in probably the last 4 or 5.
I think it is, no question. And now the kid from Troy, tell us about her. She doesn't live in Troy anymore, but she did for a while. Her daddy was a banker here and played football here.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was, on the state championship team down in,
What is her name again?
I think it's Samantha Yarborough.
Yes, Samantha. They call her Sam Yarborough.
Star pitcher, and they won the state championship last year down in Mobile, and then she signed with South Alabama. But this is her first year as far as pitching in college.
So she's a freshman, too. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Now, how has she done?
That's it. The Sun Belt conference tournament will actually start in San Marcos, Texas on May the 9th. So that was the last series of the year for Troy. I wonder why they only played 2 games.
I don't know.
That's kind of weird.
It surprised me too. Of course,
Did one of them just get not made up?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or get rained out?
It could have been something similar to that. But back to Yarborough, she's supposed to be a phenom. Did she have a good year?
I'll have to look up her record. I'll get it to you here in a second.
Of course, her dad. I know him pretty well, and I'm sure he had worked with her a lot over the years. And of course, I'd love to bring in. Hopefully, maybe this week we can bring in the young lady that has really just been on fire for Troy.
We need to mention that Brantley's baseball team's still in it as well.
Yeah, but I tell you what, Titletown, USA. Brantley,
it never stops. It's Titletown in all the sports, it sounds like.
That's right. They're really good. And now they're getting ready to play in the championships of baseball. Of course, Pike Liberal Arts, the boys will play for the state championship. They're defending state champions of 3A independent school baseball, and they'll be playing at Riverwalk Stadium this Wednesday. The game starts at 10 o'clock, and we'll be doing the game live from right here on Troy Cable. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Sam Yarborough, this is her freshman year. She finished 6-9 during the season with a 4.71 ERA. So that's her freshman year. Of course, I'm sure that the team's got to get a lot better as well. Only being 18-30. So
yeah, evidently she didn't get much help from the team, but that was her record. Of course, she was well known coming out of high school, and I sort of took it personal that he that she signed with South Alabama. Surely you would have thought that he, being a former player and lived here in Troy, was a banker here in Troy, would have wanted his daughter to go to Troy.
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those situations
I'm being a little bit greedy
here.
here.
They had moved to Mobile, and she led Fairhope, the high school, to the state championship team last year.
Right.
That's where all her friends were, and plus you got to let the children make that decision.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just heard all this about her and everything. And of course, I watched her through high school, and she was outstanding. She grew up right here in Troy playing softball, and we knew a lot about her and so forth. And I'm really surprised that she wasn't a big success, going 6-9. You got to get runs.
It looks like their team's not very good.
That's what I'm saying. You got to get some runs.
When you go 18-30 and she's got 6 of the wins, that's not too bad.
Yeah, well, in fact, you're exactly right. You got to have people that's going to score runs, and evidently they didn't. But it was a huge home victory for Troy. What's their record now, Mike? Do you know?
We just said 36 and 18.
36 and 18, and that is a very good record. Maybe one of the best records I can ever remember.
You would think if they get close to 40 wins, I mean, they probably need to win at least 3 games in the Sun Belt tournament. But if they can get close to 40, I think they might get an at-large bid, maybe.
No question about it. So congratulations to the Troy.
And then you get in those tournaments, anything can happen.
Yeah. And baseball.
Troy baseball will play Alabama on Wednesday night. Hopefully the weather will be okay in Troy, and that should be a huge crowd to come out and watch baseball, I would imagine.
Troy, and of course, Troy beat Alabama earlier in the year, and now, something I like about Alabama, they'll play Troy home and away. Auburn decided.
First time in years Troy hadn't played Auburn home and home. I don't know what happened with that this year.
I don't believe they're playing them at all, are they? Are they even on the schedule?
Yeah, they didn't play them at all this year.
And that's sad because that's always been a fun trip to go to Auburn to watch them play Troy and whatever. And
people still talking about the home run that Bo Jackson hit at Riddle Pace Field.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he hit it over the lights.
Yeah, well, let me tell you this: it was after
that was in between. He struck out like 4 times in a row.
Yeah, he struck out 3 or 4 times in a row. A little left-handed that was just had his number, and it was the year that he went the wrong way. You've heard the wrong way, Bo, before, and that was a tough break in Auburn history. There's a lot of tough breaks in that rivalry on both ends, and it was where he ran the wrong way. Well, in that ball game, they kept saying, wrong way, Bo, trying to rattle him. And he finally got enough of it and hit a line drive. I'm telling you, it was still rising when it went over the fence, over the scoreboard. Of course, it's not set up like it is now, but it was a tremendous lick.
One of the longest probably ever hit there.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going up against Bo Jackson as a pitcher with an aluminum bat? How scary that must have been.
That would have been scary. That would have been scary. I don't know if they were using an aluminum bat then, were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely weren't using wooden.
And they were using those live aluminum bats.
Well, I mean, they used wood ones before they used the aluminum. I can't remember exactly.
I never remember Troy baseball using a wooden bat.
I can many times. I can see them wrap. Hey,
had to be in the 70s.
I've wrapped a lot of tape around broken bats. Have you ever done that? Wrap tape around a broken bat? Of course.
I can remember when aluminum bats came out.
Chase was here, and Troy didn't have 3 bats. When Chase was here, he didn't care. They didn't have about 3 bats, and they were when they had the aluminum bats. But I would think it would have been in the mid-70s or something like that.
When the aluminum came in?
Aluminum bats came in, and now you can't afford one. Mike, how much are you in sporting goods? How much does the aluminum bat cost?
The real good one's around $350.
Can you beat that? $350 for a baseball bat, and of course, it's the same. Everything, the same way with golf.
They got football helmets that high schools buy now that are $600.
How did they do that? That's what's going to end the game of football.
What if you have to buy 90 of them, like Charles Henderson would if they bought new helmets?
I think, we talk about what's going to kill the game of football. It's going to have to be the cost of the helmets and the liability associated with the football helmets. That one day, I can see it happening, Mike, that the programs say, well, we can't offer this sport anymore.
Yeah. People,
one of these days you're going to see flag football to replace football, maybe.
Yeah.
You keep on seeing all these head injuries.
Michael, people keep asking me who this big red-headed guy is on our show every day now, and tell them who you are and where you're from and where you've been and what you've been doing.
I get to tell my life story right now.
This is your life, Bill Rice, Jr.
Well, I was born a poor black child in Arkansas.
What? You were what?
That's a joke from a movie.
We don't want that kind of joke on here by any means.
That's a line from the movie The Jerk with Steve Martin in it.
The Jerk, yeah.
Remember his family? That was a funny movie.
Yeah.
No, I was born in Birmingham, moved to Muddy Water, which is Clearwater, which is where the Scientologists have their home base now. Then we moved to
Clearwater, Florida.
Yeah,
he was in the oil business.
He was
right, Michelle?
Gulf. He was a marketing rep for Gulf. Then we moved to Fort Myers, the home of Deion Sanders. then we moved. We're about the same age, so as far as I know, I might have even gone to first grade with Deion Sanders. Then we moved to Opelika, the biggest Alabama fans in the world, living in Lee County.
Yeah.
That's where I lived my Opie Taylor days, and then moved briefly to Mobile.
He says Opie Taylor. You look like Opie Taylor when you're growing up. Is that right? Little red-headed boy running around with freckles.
Yeah. We loved Opelika. It was a great place to grow up. Then briefly lived in Mobile. We were in Mobile when Elvis died and when the first Star Wars came out. It's funny the way you remember certain events in your life where you were.
So that would have been 77?
That's right.
And your daddy was still with Gov, former University of Alabama football player, won the national championship in 1961. Well, he was one of my heroes.
Well, we talked enough about that. But
Yeah, well, go
that's
ahead.
right. Then he bought Chapman Oil Company from his father-in-law, Hickey Chapman, which is the Gulf Oil distributorship.
And wasn't that ironic that it just so happened that he worked for Gulf and his father-in-law owned the Gulf dealership?
We were talking to the coach, Troy's coach, the other day about connections.
Yeah.
Hickey got Dad that job at Gulf Oil Corporation when he got out of the Army.
Uh-huh.
And then when Hickey was ready to retire, like a lot of situations, the son-in-law bought the business. Plus, Dad knew the oil business a little bit because he'd worked for Gulf Oil. And so in 7th grade, we moved to Troy. But I knew Troy well because both of my grandparents were from Troy, so we visited every month for my whole life. And then I graduated from Charles Henderson in 1983. Later was the sports editor of the Troy Messenger. Started my own newspaper, the Troy Citizen, which we kept going for about 7 years. When I closed the Troy Citizen, I moved to Montgomery and then to Pike Road and was gone from Troy for about 12 years. And about 6 months ago, I moved back to Troy.
Now, you lived at Pike Road, and of course, everybody talks about Pike Road and how it's being developed and so forth. You had a lot to do with that, didn't you? I mean, didn't you sort of, how long have you lived at Pike Road?
Well, I lived in Midtown Montgomery off of Zelda Road before I got married, and you could see that Pike Road was where everybody was going. And when I got married to my wife, Carrie, we couldn't afford the private school tuitions, or we would have had to take out a big loan to do it. And so I said, let's go to Pike Road and get some free education. So
it is costly. Education is costly in Montgomery, isn't it?
I don't know how the families with 3 or 4 kids do it, to tell you the truth. Well, I do. I mean, they are ultra wealthy, but I actually think a lot of families, they get help from the parents or the grandparents.
Yeah.
But Montgomery Academy's tuition is $14,000 a year.
That's for one child?
Yeah, you multiply that times 3 children, and then they're going to
You have to borrow money to send the kids.
They're each going to go to school 13 years.
Yeah.
So you might have kids in school for
and one
17
other thing
years.
about it too. Now, a lot of these schools, you have to have certain academic standards too that they have. So I've heard that a few times where some of the wealthiest people in Montgomery, their kids did not make the grades to go to, say, Montgomery Academy. They'd have to go to another private school, and then they would be rated there too. Is that right?
Yes, they do have standards and criteria. Maggie went to kindergarten at Montgomery Academy, and she had to be tested, and
even at that level.
Yeah.
And that's something that's amazing. But Pike Road.
Look at daycare in Mountain Brook. I mean, each kid was $1,000 a month. I mean, that's insane. I mean, that was $24,000 a year. We were paying for daycare, preschool.
That's as much as those private schools I just said. That's amazing. I don't know.
It is amazing.
I mean, of course, I'm older. I can't imagine a younger parent, though, like a kid 23, 24, trying to put their kids in preschool up in Birmingham.
Yeah. But so Pike Road came around at a good time. And you were involved in that, weren't you?
What is Pike Road's nickname?
Is that the Patriots?
So they're the Patriots too, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the way I got involved in it is that I didn't like the way they were running the school system, and I wrote a story on it. It's this real radical approach to education. no grades, no homework, no tests, no honor societies. It was bizarre to me. And there were some things going on. I kept hearing stories about things that were going on. And I said, well, this needs to be a newspaper story. And, of course, nobody else would write the story. And I wrote the story in Sam Adams' monthly newspaper, the Alabama Gazette. Ralph Adams' son,
Yeah.
He is the co-owner of it's a opinion monthly newspaper. And so for, a month or two, that story made a little bit of a splash, and that's probably why people, and my wife also taught at Pike Road School the very first year it opened, so.
Yeah, but of course, that's the fast growing part of Montgomery.
But
Their limits have really expanded, haven't they?
Well, I can tell you that, my neighborhood, what was it called? Woodland Creek, across from Town Hall on Vaughn Road. If you take a right at Pike Road and go out east, you would have come to, our subdivision was the first big one. I bet there were, in the 5 or 6 years I lived in that house, 500 new houses that were built in that one subdivision, maybe 400, 500.
Of course, it's really growing. That neighborhood is really growing. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more of Today in L.A.
Troy Cable Security makes it easy to stay aware and stay in control of your home wherever you are. User-friendly interface allows easy navigation for lights, locks thermostat, video and garage doors. Never worry about leaving your garage door open or the front door unlocked. Your mobile app can send alerts to your phone for alarm and no alarm events. Know when your children arrive home from school with video response. Make sure your home is powered by Troy Cable Security for ultimate access, awareness, and protection.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Have you seen an increase in your insurance premiums or significant change in your insurance coverage? Let Sandbeck Insurance offer you a better plan to suit your business or personal needs. Sandbeck Insurance offers many lines of insurance, whether it's home, farm, or auto insurance, work comp, business, or health and life policies. Sandbeck is here for you. Call or visit our Troy, Enterprise, or Andalusia office today. Sandbeck Insurance, where we take pride in taking care of your insurance
Talk about this crazy Kentucky Derby. I mean, there's people that lost thousands of dollars because they couldn't find their
Back
tickets.
to our show, ladies and gentlemen, and of course everybody's been talking about the Kentucky Derby. Did you watch the race?
Mm-hmm. After as much as we built it up and talked about it, I had to watch it. And
I know it exactly. And the favorite won the race, but then he was disqualified. Is that right?
That's right.
Tell us about what happened.
The favorite, he was 9-2 to win it.
Oh, 9-2. So he was.
Oh, I thought he was the odds-on favorite.
No, Maximum Security was not the favorite, but when it's all said and done,
he was second favorite probably.
There's thousands and thousands of people that had thrown their tickets away and had left, and they were saying that people were scrambling back to where they were sitting, trying to find tickets, going through garbage cans, the winning ticket.
Oh God!
Paid thousands and thousands of dollars for some people.
Man, is that something?
Well, what happened was.
That was 65-1 now, wasn't it?
Yeah. What happened?
It was a lane infraction.
All right. Now, what we're going to do, one of you, both of you, explain what happened.
Mike, you can go ahead and explain it. Did you watch it?
I watched it. I mean, I don't know horse racing. You might know better than me, but I just know that, during the course of the race, I mean, the favorite horse, I mean, not the favorite horse, but the horse was dominating the race. But, actually came into the lane and impeded another horse that affected another horse that came in second. and apparently this is the first time in history of the Kentucky Derby that there's ever been a ruling to change the actual winner, the winning horse and jockey.
Well, what I saw was the horse that was the favorite or the second favorite, Maximum Security, was on the inside lane, and the jockey said that when he got close to the home stretch, the crowd breaks out in a huge roar, and it spooked the horse, and the horse moved over about 2 lanes while it was running, and it cut right in front of another horse, and it did impede that horse. You could see their legs almost hit, which is a dangerous thing in horse racing. So that horse had to pull back. Then the jockey got control and pulled the horse back to the inside lane where it was, and the horse did show a lot of guts. It was almost getting caught, and then it pulled away and won by about 3/4 of a length. Never even affected the horse that came in second. It was on the outside, not involved in this fender bender, so to speak. Well, it was still that jockey that cried foul, or whatever the term is for it, and the speculation of the announcers was, like Mike said, well, there's never been a horse disqualified. They won't do it. This is the biggest race, the Kentucky Derby. The stewards reviewed it on and on and on. It went on about 20 minutes. And
on the air.
And finally, they disqualified the winning horse, so if they disqualified the winning horse, that means the horse that was number 2 is now the winner. But that was a 65...
A horse called Country House.
And Country House was a 65-1 horse, and he was running second at that time.
That's right. 65-1. It was the longest shot.
The top horses were Tactus, which is a Bob Baffert horse. Was
the Bob Baffert Benny Beard horse. Which one was that?
Was 5-1. Improbable was 4-1. Game Winner was 6-1, and then the one that lost, Maximum Security, was 9-2.
That's 4.5-1.
All right. Now, do you think National Security actually won the race? Didn't it?
No.
I mean before they disqualified.
That's right. Maximum Security won the race.
All right, and they took it away from him, and they gave it to the second place horse, which was named what?
Country House.
Country House.
Your Country House.
And Country House.
Steve's got a Country House.
65-1. I wouldn't think a lot of people would have bet on 65-1 odds, though, would you?
I bet there's some people that just find the highest odds horse and say, I'm going to bet $10 on that one just in case.
Have you heard about anybody getting rich off of it, Mike?
I hadn't heard anything like that. I'm sure stuff will come out, though. You'll read more and more about it.
But can you see people running back to where they were and looking in garbage cans because they torn up their tickets?
You know, the people that had Country House wouldn't have done that because he placed. You know, they were, well, I don't know. If they had him to win, they might have.
I wouldn't think they'd have him to win, but they might.
It messed up the whole order of finish, though. So then you had,
all
different,
all these trifectas and
1, 2, and 3. So you had to go back and try to find your tickets.
Yeah, the one that had the number 4 horse would now become the number 3 horse and be in the money. So yeah.
The only local connection to it, I know Justin Thomas, the great Alabama golfers from Louisville, and he was talking about it on Twitter about how he had so many friends that were there that had thrown their tickets on the ground and were having to come back and get them.
It's just amazing that happened, and of course, like you said.
Let me just say this: thank God none of the horses were injured, because that was one of the muddiest tracks you'll ever see. I mean, it was horrible conditions.
Oh gosh!
I think 3 of the last 4 races have been in that sloppy conditions.
Well, I mean, and now because of all of this good horse is probably not going to even run in the Preakness, or thinking about not running in the Preakness. It's just, just think of the money and the time and the effort that is being lost here.
I would think his owners.
That was his first, Kentucky Derby, winning horse too. You got to feel for that guy.
Yeah. And Baffert's horse turned out to be which one?
I think Baffert had, I think he had Improbable, and I think his other horse was Game Winner. I think those 2 were his.
Well, I tell you, it is. Do you think? All right, now I'm sure that they're, this guy's still fooling with it, though, don't you think? I mean, is this cut and dry or?
Yeah, this is official.
This is official. And
the point that was carried today that somebody made during the interim when they were reviewing it was, if this had been just one of the minor races on the undercard of would you have disqualified that horse? And most people said, yeah. If that was just a regular minor race, by the rules of horse racing, that's grounds for disqualification. And so they were consistent. So I can see it both ways, not disqualifying him and disqualifying him.
Yeah, I tell you what,
but as far as the value of that horse, everybody knows with their eyeballs that was the best horse, and so I don't think that should affect his future breeding fees.
I doubt it.
He'll go out the stud one day and be happy.
Yeah, but it probably will. But the 65-1 horse probably will just go. Probably won't be worth anything. Would you think?
No.
Well, you got to see what he does on the next two races.
Would he be put out to pasture?
I mean, he's definitely going to be, if he wins the next race, he's got a chance at the Triple Crown.
I need to call my good friend Bob Baffert up and see how he feels about it. Of course, he dominates the Kentucky Derby every year, and I wonder what his feeling was about this.
Boy, they only showed him about just 1,000 times, just like we predicted.
Well, there's so much build-up to that Kentucky Derby. I think the coverage starts like at 1 o'clock. It goes till 6 o'clock. I mean, I don't care about racing enough to watch, but the last 10, 15 minutes of it.
It's like the Super Bowl.
It's considered one of the biggest spectator events.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I grew up playing polo, so I mean, I'm used to being around horses.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking to Benny the other day, Benny Beard, my good friend, and so many people look at him. Of course, he's a horseman, but a different one. He's a walking horse guy and one of the best in the country. And I say that you need to go to Kentucky Derby. Folks will think you're a second Baffert. Baffert is the trainer for so many great teams. Great horses over the years, and he's gotten to be so famous. Everybody makes a big to-do about him, don't they?
Yeah, he does it. Benny does bear a resemblance to him.
Of course, we've got, again, it's a great spectator sport. A lot of people watch that. I don't know what the TV ratings are, but I would think it's one of the top TV ratings in the country.
It must do well because NBC pours a lot of money into its coverage. I mean, they had 30 announcers there, and then, like we've talked about, their coverage was 4 hours for a 2-minute race.
No question about it. Of course,
I watch it most years, but I click on about 10 minutes. I find out when the post time is, and then I click on about 10 minutes before post time and watch the race.
Of course, we got a lot going on in our community. Remember, tonight from the Claudia Crosby Theater is the final concert of the year for the great orchestra we have here in Troy, and Dr. Johnny Long will be there, and I've found out that he's definitely going to be there, and that's tonight at, I want to say 7 o'clock with the Pike County orchestra presentation, and that's always a big event. It's great to know that Troy, Alabama's got an orchestra of its own.
God, amazing.
And of course, that's going on tonight, and we'll be keeping you more informed.
Speaking of the Kentucky Derby, it's the University of Louisville marching band that plays My Old Kentucky Home every time before that race. So that's a great perk for those band members.
It sure is. In fact,
they're 4 years in the band. They get to go to the Kentucky Derby every year.
We had a University of Louisville band member come out of Charleston High School. She was, let me see here. She was, I can't, I'll come up with it before long. But Nall's in town, Fred Nall Hollis, there'll be a big celebration on Tuesday.
Troy University has been very good to Nall, and Nall's been very good to Troy University. I think they honor Nall about every year with something.
Well, let me tell you this, he's well known across the country. Troy University and the
world,
city of
really.
Troy will celebrate a native son on May the 7th, which is tomorrow, Tuesday.
So how long did he live in Troy, and how long did he live in Arab?
Well, I'll tell you what. Now he grew up part of the time in Troy, but I think he was just in elementary school when he left to move to Birmingham. His dad was a banker, and he moved to Birmingham, and he lived. The latter place that he lived in Alabama was Arab. His daddy was president of the bank in Arab.
And his first cousin, Jerry Hollis, who I saw at church
That's right.
Sunday.
Yeah, Jerry's his cousin and uncle. What is it? Cousin, I would think. And of course, Fred Nall, when Nall would come to Troy and visit during the summers, he and I were friends. And he would want to get Daddy Nall's, he called him Daddy Fred. Daddy Fred's car, and it was an old Buick, if I remember right. And we used to ride around in it. And of course, that family, everybody knows Mrs. Had the house that served the food. Miss Nall, that was his grandmother, I think, that had the corner house over there that served food.
I think Nall considers Troy home, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he served his apprenticeship. I guess he studied under Salvador Dali, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And of course, went to the University of Alabama to school, and
I think he was
him and Randy Brown are first cousins,
that's
aren't they?
right. They are, and it's a big family, no question. Nall Day recognized as world-renowned mixed media artist and Pike County native Fred Nall Hollis, and of course he goes by Nall, and he's known all over the world, and the city will proclaim Nall at a luncheon in his honor at the Johnson Center for the Arts. I'm going to go to that and see him. And this was the mayor of the city of Troy, Jason Reeves, talking about all the things that Nall has done for his community and given back to the community. And
he is so talented, unbelievably talented artist.
And of course, all of this will be you can call the Johnson Center for the Arts and find out more information. The luncheon will be followed by a closed session master class with 8 Troy University artists involved. So it's going to be a learning situation for a lot of college students. And during the session, the students and Nall will collaborate to create a piece of art that will be donated to the university, says Greg Skaggs, the Associate Professor of Art at Troy. So this goes on and on. This was in the weekend edition, and again, it tells a lot about the life of Nall Hollis and how he grew to be a great artist.
You know, and he was selected by the state of Alabama, or the Bronner at the retirement system, to select the art at the RSA Hotel in downtown Montgomery, and at the Grand Hotel in Point Clear.
Exactly right. You see that? You see his art all over the place down there, don't you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it in the Renaissance Hotel in Montgomery several times for different football meetings and stuff.
He's got his.
Yeah, I mean.
And I tell you what he does.
Nall's extremely talented, and he does a lot of unique stuff that you don't see very much. He does all kinds of stuff that that's I guess it's just arts comes down to taste, and everybody has different taste, and he's very popular at what he does.
Yeah, of course, they have the he is a part of a wonderful museum on the campus of Troy University. They took the old dining hall and made it into an arts museum. Have you ever been through that?
Not since I've done that.
You sure need to do it. And the art and Nall's pictures are on one half of the building, and then some other well-known artists are on the other side. But Nall's pictures are open.
Of course, a lot of people talk about that Nall wedding that took place out at the Pike Pioneer Museum, where everybody had to wear white and people were up in the trees. It was pretty amazing.
I was at that wedding. I got a picture of me.
He married a countess from France, didn't he?
No, they got remarried. They had been married.
They got remarried. You're right. And that was quite an event back then. And
I was there. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun, and everybody wore white, and it was really something. And of course, Very good article though in the Messenger, which was this weekend, and you can find out more and more about it.
I also want to mention former Alabama golfer Robbie Shelton won the Nashville Open, sponsored by Brett Snedeker yesterday. So Robbie Shelton is 23 years old and has won over $200,000 on the Web.com tour. So he is basically guaranteed to be on the PGA Tour. So look for that name. He's a kid out of Mobile that
Alabama
is a phenomenal golfer. Was a 3-time All-American in Alabama in golf.
I think Alabama's got when he joins the tour, Alabama will have 4 or 5 alumni that are on the PGA Tour.
The thing about it, there were two.
You'll have Bud Colley, you'll have Justin Thomas, you'll have Trey Mullinax, you'll have Robbie Shelton, and then there's the kid out of Mountain Brook that was on the tour last year but lost his card, Tom Lovelady.
All right, there's another.
Michael Thompson, remember him from about 8 years before those guys, is doing well too.
Yeah, Michael Thompson's still on the PGA Tour too.
Yeah. Well, I would like to also mention that Sheldon's not the only one from Mobile that's so good. There's another one down there.
Yeah, he's good, but he's not on any kind of tour. Bobby White.
Yeah, Bobby White. Now he played for Alabama, though.
Yeah, he's part of those national championship teams.
And he's good enough to probably make the tour one day, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, he's a guy that a lot of people think has got more talent than anybody, but just can't ever, go to Q school and qualify.
Yeah. How did Jason Duffner end up yesterday in that tournament? He was leading at one time.
He was doing well.
He won $320,000, I think. The money's just incredible.
Duffner finished for a tie for, let's see, Homer won it and gets 1.4.
Duffner cannot putt right now. He just like misses short putt after short putt. He missed. When he shot 63 the other day, they said he missed 4 putts within 5 feet of the hole.
That doesn't bode well.
In fact,
Tom Watson has been
Homer
battling
won
that
the
for
event,
30 years.
$1.4 million.
Homer came out of nowhere. He's a guy that had been doing nothing. Was a great college player, but won his first tournament, so it changed his life yesterday.
Joel Dahman is also a young player, and he won $800,000. Justin Rose hung in there for $537 in third place.
That's the difference in money. Sheldon wins the tournament on the Web.com tour. He makes $99,000 as a winner.
Yeah.
And all these guys making, tie for 16th, tie for 17th, went over $100,000 on the PGA Tour.
Duffner was tied for 5th with three other guys, Ricky Fowler and Sergio, and they all take home $311,000. But Duffner from Auburn, Alabama. And he's out. I mean, people. You want to meet him or something? He practices out there almost every day. But what he did, Mike, that surprises me about the way he hits it. He's real unorthodox, and he keeps throwing. He'll do this, and then it bang. And you don't know which one of those strikes he's
Waggle has those little waggles.
And I reckon that movement that he makes is building up momentum, I reckon. And but I was out at.
Well, he idolizes Ben Hogan. That's who his golf swing's tailored after.
Yeah. Well, and he's a nice guy. And now, one of the things that changed him a little bit, he lost a bunch of weight. Has he kept that weight down, or do you know?
I saw him this weekend, and he looks like he's kept it down.
Yeah. Roy McIlroy was also came in there, but that 63 that Duffner shot was the best all weekend long. And what did you say? You missed some putts?
Sounds like he's battling the
he
yips.
missed 4 putts under 5 feet, so it could have been better than 63.
Yeah. All right. Of course, we're talking baseball too. Of course, Troy won 2 out of 3 from Georgia Southern. Troy's doing all right as far as the conference goes, but the only way one of these teams from the Sun Belt's going to get in is to pretty much win the conference tournament, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Of course, last year Troy
we knew this was going to be an extremely tough year for Troy. They lost so much talent last year. They had 3 guys going to Major League Baseball draft, and pitching just really has struggled consistently. You got 2 guys that are pretty good with Levi Thomas and Corey Gill, but other than that, they really struggled trying to find guys to pitch that 3rd game, and then they really have struggled pitching that midweek game this year.
Yeah, you're right. And, of course, that game will be
the midweek has just been unbelievable for Troy this year. They got swept by UAB 2 games. They got swept by Jacksonville State, swept by Sanford. that's just not normal for Troy. They usually do so much better in those midweek games.
Yeah, no question. They got a midweek game coming up this Wednesday, 6 o'clock
Right.
start.
Do you take, if you could possibly sweep Alabama, do you, is that good enough for the fans?
Well, I don't know, but Troy's very competitive, and it should be a great game. And you need to go ahead and get your tickets by calling the ticket office, and they'll leave it at the door for you, or go by the ticket office.
Bill Rice gonna be behind the Alabama dugout with an A hat on?
I don't know.
I pull for Troy when Troy plays Alabama. It'd be a lot bigger deal for Troy to win than for Alabama. I mean, Alabama's written off this season.
Well, that's awfully nice to hear that, Rice.
Yeah. I mean, nobody.
That's the way I am too. Hey, listen, if you can't root for your own hometown, man, of course there'll be a bunch of folks here that are in red for Alabama, and so it'll be a big crowd. I want to say the sellout is right at 3,000. Is that right? 2,500, 3,000 is how much the ballpark will hold.
I think so. That's what I've heard.
And then, or you can come free to the game and get out in left field and grill. And the Troy Bank Trust Company's grilling almost every midweek game, and it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of activity going on prior to the game.
Probably what Troy's doing is they don't have the depth in the pitching staff for those midweek games. And I would think against Alabama, though, you might move up one of your aces.
Well, I'm thinking, and of course, there's some middle relief guys, Mike, that when they get hot. One of them is our local guy, Mike. He's when he's on.
Russ Hickson's one of the top relievers to get out of Banks.
Yeah, out of Banks, Alabama.
His name, Lance Johnson, pitches a lot out of relief. It's one of those situations where what I think you do against a team like Alabama, if you want to beat them, you just let everybody get an inning. Just like somebody goes and throws in the bullpen between starts, you just let them go out there and throw a few innings.
A lot of people look at it that way, no question about it. Well, I would like to say I was at the game Friday night, and let me tell you, there was about 15 or 20 scouts there, and they were there to watch this guy from Georgia Southern. And he was throwing it, I think the best I saw it, one time he threw it 96 miles an hour.
Ooh. Georgia Southern had a kid yesterday, McWhorter, that hit 3 home runs in the game.
McWhorter is a great player for him, too. He hit 3 yesterday in one game.
Yeah, he did.
I know what was the final score of that game? I turned it off. It was pretty bad.
Last time I saw the score, I think they got beat 11-3, I believe.
Something like that. But this game on Friday was a great game. It was a wonderful turnout, crowd-wise, too. But this kid, all these scouts were looking at him. And Mike, after about the 3rd and 4th inning, Troy finally caught up with that fastball. They hit 5 or 6 home runs in that game. And, about every time they'd hit a home run, you'd see 1 or 2 or 3 of those scouts getting up the lead. And before long, Troy had knocked this guy out with a bunch of home runs, and the scouts left. But he was throwing it 92, 93, 94 all night long. They had some good pitchers. They really did.
Well, they say all the time that anybody can hit a fastball. So I mean, it's one of those type things.
That's right.
You got to have 3 or 4 pitches to make the major leagues.
You better have that changeup.
I know Brian Meadows had a good fastball, but he had a great curveball, and he had a slider, and he had a changeup, and he also threw a knuckle curve. Brian could throw it all.
And the knuckle curve he threw was he would grip it like this right here. And you know who taught him how to throw that ball?
His dad,
Russ Jenright.
Russ Jenright coached him, and they were good friends with the family, and he'd go over there and throw it. And he taught Russ Jenright through. That's what Brian will tell you today. Will tell you that it was a knuckle curve. That's what he learned to throw. And hey, I remember one night he pitched 10 scoreless innings against the Braves. Do you remember that, Mike?
Oh, yeah, I watched that whole game. I couldn't believe it.
And then the Braves, and guess who?
Brian got taken out, and then the Pirates won in extra innings. But, yeah, it was the best performance I'd ever seen him pitch.
I thought that was the Braves that he did that against, Mike. You said Pirates.
No, it was. He was pitching for the Pirates against the Braves.
Pitching for the Pirates against the Braves, you're right. And
Pirates won the game, but it was after Brian was taken out.
And tell him who was pitching for the Braves.
I the Braves that game. It might have been.
I thought the Guru was pitching.
Maddox was pitching?
I think Maddox was pitching in that game. And,
I have to ask Brian. I'm sure he'll remember.
Yeah, I need to get Brian to come on our show. Talk about Brian Meadows, formerly of Troy, who grew up and played high school ball here. He signed with LSU right out of high school, but then was drafted and went with the pros. He had a big break in his major league career to get to the major leagues as fast as he did. Why? It didn't take 3 or 4 years for him to make it to the majors, did it, Mike?
Well, what happened is the Marlins won the World Series under Jim Leland, and the Marlins got rid of every single one of their high-paid players and basically kind of decided to start all over again, which was kind of shocking.
What was the owner? The owner, he also owned the Dolphins.
Wayne Huizenga.
Yeah, Huizenga. Wins the World Series championship.
He's famous for Blockbuster. We were famous for movie gallery down in Denton, and he was famous for Blockbuster.
Boy, that's been the biggest heartache of all time.
Wasn't that the guy that hired Saban too from LSU?
That's right.
That's right. Huizenga. He was. But then what he did, he started,
gutted the team, the roster.
But then after he won that championship, he started making money by selling all these players, and our guy Meadows was sitting back ready to come on up to the major leagues.
For several years, Brian had the rookie wins record for the Marlins. Of course, they weren't. They hadn't been a Major League Baseball team for many years, but he had 11 wins his rookie season.
Don't you know, just to go into the locker rooms on a daily basis and eat the buffet? You always said the buffet in the locker room.
Those players, Brian would invite us down to spring training. We'd go out with the team after the spring training games, and you're talking about a lot of fun.
Andy Murphy and I covered Brian's major league debut for the Marlins. Andy wrote for the Troy Citizen. This is big. This is a big story. A Troy kid makes the major leagues, and
no question.
Tom Murphy had an airplane and was a pilot. He flew us down to Miami, and we got press passes. We got to go in the locker rooms, go out on the field in pre-games. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a funny story. It wasn't Barry Bonds. Bobby Bonilla used to play with Barry Bonds at the Power.
Bobby Bonilla and Cliff Floyd, Charles Johnson, Scott Erickson,
Bobby Bonilla,
the Twins, all those guys were on that team.
He was on the Marlins, and Cigar Aficionado magazine was down there doing a photo shoot of Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah.
And I remember them taking these pictures of him in the batter's box, and Andy and I were just taking it all in, didn't think anything about it. Well, about 2 months later, I go in Pete's package store, and Pete sells cigars at his store, and he said, "Rice, look at this." He turns through that magazine. There is a full-page picture of Bobby Bonilla in the batter's box, and in the background is Bill Rice and Andy Murphy just looking at Bobby Bonilla. So I have been in Cigar Aficionado magazine thanks to that trip to see Brian Meadows' debut.
Johnny Williams and I took our families on vacation one time, and we went up to Washington, D.C., and enjoyed the sights and all that. I think it was 4th of July weekend because we went to the 4th of July celebrations, in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol. And then the next night we go to Baltimore to see the Baltimore play. I forgot exactly who. I think it was still with the Marlins, but it was at Baltimore. And we were in a long line to try to get autographs for the kids before the game. And he noticed that we were in the line up there, and he goes and runs back to the dugout, brings out a brand new baseball, and gave them to both of Johnny's kids. And we had our pictures made, and all those other people were so upset. We were way back there, and he came all the way back there and gave it to us, and that was special for him to do that. And then one time I was out in Washington, in California, actually in Hollywood, going to a meeting, and
pitching a movie or something?
I was again with Johnny Williams, and he played in the golf tournament, and I didn't play in the golf tournament, so I went through Universal and saw all of that, and I was sitting back at the Beverly Hills. I was staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Wow!
Can you believe that? And I haven't done that since, but
I could definitely believe it because you were with Johnny Williams, who's the world traveler.
Well, and I know this. There was a huge baseball card show, and all these pictures. All these people from all over buying baseball paraphernalia and whatever. And I said, well, what am I going to do this afternoon? And then I was looking at the paper. Oh, the Pirates are playing Los Angeles at Chavez Ravine. That's what they used to call that ballpark. And I said, so I called Michael up. I said, Mike, is your buddy still with the Pirates? Better do, of course, they spent the night at my house, no telling how many times. And I called old Brian up. I said, Brian, I'm in town, and you think you might give me a ticket to the game? He said, sure, Mike, sure. I'll leave it at will call and be glad to see you. So he didn't pitch that day. He was out in the bullpen, but he didn't pitch that day. But my seats were about 15 rows high, right behind the umpire. Right behind. Then in a minute, his young, well, I don't know if he was married at the time or they were engaged at the time. She sat with me, and we really had a good time. Yeah, she's a wonderful girl, Jeannie. But Brian Meadows is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
He was always hospitable to the home folks when we came and covered him. I covered him at a Braves game when he was playing against the Braves one time, and so even though I had a small weekly paper, I got press passes, and I went in the Braves locker room. This is when the Braves were still a dynasty. And I saw some of these guys with their shirts off, before the game or after. And you know what my lasting impression was? How big and muscular and strong. Like Chipper Jones looked like an NFL outside linebacker.
Oh, yeah. Their legs is one of the things. I say that more. It's the same thing with
Brian Meadows could squat probably 400 pounds.
You look at these legs. You look at those thighs. And that's where the power is in the legs. And, he was 6'5". 220 pounds. He was the ideal size for a major league pitcher. And Mike, he was as humble as you could get, though. You couldn't.
I mean, I'll say this, and I'll say this about many people. One of the greatest guys I've ever, to grow up with a guy that humble and that nice. And, I mean, even to this day, I think back about just how generous he was to all of us. He basically kind of let us live our major league, dreams through him, as a pitcher. We'd go on all these trips together, and he would put us up at the Ritz-Carlton for free in Atlanta. I mean, some of the best times of my life. And even in the minor leagues, when he pitched up in Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
One of my best friends, John Reeves, and I would go up there and stay with him in Nashville. And we'd go out on the town in Nashville with him, and it was some of the most fun nights ever.
Something
I saw John at the First Methodist Church yesterday morning, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something about him, too. He was not only a big, strong, physical-looking guy. He was a movie star look. He had movie star look.
Brian's so generous. I don't know how many baseball bats he gave me, and he had an Adidas contract with shoes, so he could get an unlimited amount of shoes, and we both wore 12 and a half shoes, and he probably gave me 10 pairs of shoes.
Well, hey, I'm glad he did, and of course,
what I remember about Brian.
You're right, a major leaguer didn't have to pay for anything, did he?
He just had it was like you think of Fred Couples' golf swing, how just relaxed and slow it is. That's almost like how Brian threw a baseball. It just looked like there was no effort whatsoever, and then there it was, 91 miles an hour.
And another thing about him, too, he was so cool and calm. Nothing ever fazed him. Even when he was a young kid, I remember, this is terrible to say, but one weekend he spent the night with us at the beach. We were all at the beach, and we drove back, and in fact, we were running sort of late, and I know, of course, his daddy was a great coach, and just his daddy had a lot to do with his success, and he was coaching the other team, and we were big rivals, and James Lucas and I had I talked to James. I said, James, I'll be there in about an hour, and the game was fixing to start in about 30 or 40 minutes, or an hour or whatever. And James said, well, hey, just hold on and maybe fake a car deal, and maybe we can beat these guys if Brian doesn't show up. And Brian Denny said, when is that guy gonna get back with, he started thinking about it. He said, surely they're not holding on to my son until after the game.
I wonder if Brian Meadows ever lost a Little League
Isn't that a
game.
great story, though, that kids were actually down at the beach and came back and played recreation ball? We actually enjoyed our lives, and we didn't do travel ball, and we weren't on the road all summer long.
Yeah.
We're actually kids that enjoy going to the beach and having fun. I mean, today these kids play baseball.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
After
good
their
point.
season's over, they'll play another 50 games.
Yeah,
that's
And
right.
these parents will travel and spend thousands of dollars on hotels.
Oh,
I remember
It's just
it's
unbelievable.
unreal. It's a huge
And
industry.
Brian Meadows ended up being a Major League Baseball player,
Yeah.
something that's never been done before in Troy, and
Yeah.
maybe will never be done again.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I tell you,
That's a good point.
it was an unreal thing to see a high school game where he was pitching, and there'd be a orange jacket, a blue jacket, a green jacket, a purple jacket, a white jacket, or whatever, full of scouts sitting on the front row watching this young.
I
phenom
remember when
from
I
Troy.
realized that he was a phenom. He was 15 years old in
I remember
Dixie pre-majors.
You're exactly right.
And they had a tournament in Gunnersville for the state championship. And
Thank you.
I think it's about that same time he got picked to be on some national team for teenagers. But I covered that tournament for one of the newspapers I was working at. And
It was in Gunnersville.
Troy was mowing down the competition, and then they had an awful game. It's like they just didn't show up. And I said, oh, so how embarrassing.
But
We
he
went
didn't
into the
pitch.
loser. He didn't pitch. But, that team got back together, had a little huddle among themselves.
Yeah.
They were not happy of how they played. And they came out that next game and just looked like a completely different team. Brian did have some innings left. We were winning that game, and then Brian's innings ran out. And so we had to go to another pitch, and we lost, if I remember correctly, a heartbreaker by 1 run for the state championship.
Yeah.
So,
And
All right.
that pitcher was a great pitcher growing up. One of the best there was Marcus Bryant.
Yeah, Marcus
Brian
Bryant.
Meadows and Marcus Bryant on all those state championship teams.
In fact, they won that state championship in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
One time they went out to Texas, too. They
Yeah.
went to Spartanburg.
They went to the home.
They went to Texas. They went all over the place.
They went to Paris, Texas, as the state champion in Alabama. And of course, I remember that game he pitched in Gunnersville. Bo Gaylord, of course, was one of the
you
coaches.
were up there, too?
And I followed them all along back then. I was very involved in being not only a coach in those leagues, but just enjoyed it as a fan to watch his career. And
But they weren't going to score.
he had a
Nobody
ball.
was going to score on
Yeah.
Brian.
That's what I'm saying. He had a pitch that just could hardly be hit. I mean, he would, and he would be so nonchalant. He never wind up like a lot of people, like go behind the head. Do you remember that, Mike? He always he would come all the way to about the chest, and that's where he would stop, and then he would kick that
crazy
big
thing
leg
is,
up.
after the season was over, Brian would just play in the rec leagues all through high school. He played up until his senior year in the rec leagues.
Well, now you got travel ball, and then people specialize in one sport. I think what y'all are talking about is, people used to, they'd go to the beach in the summer or go swimming in the summer, and then they would play all 3 sports if they were good enough to play them. And I don't think it really hurt their development.
I want to mention our good friends at All-Star Collision today, and our good friends, and also at Max Federal Credit Union. We appreciate all of our sponsors, and back to him, and of course his daddy coached, and his daddy was a good coach, and his brother. And his brother was a very good player too, and he could throw it hard.
Brent played junior college and then finished his career at Alabama High School.
And I'll tell you something else about them, Mike. They were straight A students, both of them. They made straight A's all the way through their school years. And, Brian was smart, no question about it. And the best thing ever happened to him, though, was the way the Florida Marlin franchise worked, where they allowed these young players to come up to the major leagues after they had won a championship.
Well, that's
Yeah,
part
he
of
was.
it.
I think he went early in the 3rd round. I think he went like 61 or 62 overall, and of course that was a
pretty good
great
money,
signing
too,
bonus,
yeah.
and he decided to go pro.
Yeah.
Well, he made the
And
right
I tell you
decision.
something else he was, Mike, a great defensive pitcher. He made a lot of plays. He'd come off that mound on a bunt and throw folks out. He was noted for that, wasn't he, Mike?
I watched him on the ESPN Game of the Week. They used to have that every Sunday night, and he hit a ball off the fence against the Arizona Diamondbacks one night that almost got out. He was still a good hitter even as a pitcher.
And listen, at a young person, he struck out one time in his entire career. I remember this, and that was the day we drove back from the beach.
Probably because
I hated it. He had to rush to get his uniform on and rush to get it.
Strike him out.
Yeah. But hey, one of the finest young men, and I hope he's listening or watching today. But they don't make them like him anymore.
I don't know if there was ever two coaches that coached together that could get more excited and more mad at the same time than you and James Lucas. That's quite a pair of coaches right there.
But, hey.
What team did y'all coach?
We've coached what was it?
We're the Royals.
The Royals, and
I'll never forget James Lucas could still outrun everybody on our team. He was probably in his mid-40s.
James Lucas was a real good athlete and a very good coach and a very good father. His kids came around that same time.
He had Jimmy and Tommy. He had two sons that were really good athletes.
Yeah, I later coached against him in football too. We've been competitors all our lives. We grew up together, and boy, he was.
The story about when we played football though is they had C.K. Pennington and we didn't.
Yeah, that's all you need to know right there.
Yeah.
Now we had Richard Calhoun who played, football at Vanderbilt, signed with Vanderbilt, and we also had Brian Thomas who signed with Georgia Tech.
That's right.
And
we had the Rayleigh kid. We had the Rayleigh kid who went on with a star player at Jeff Davis of Montgomery. You remember him?
Yeah, but C.K. literally, if he hit the corner and nobody was around him, he was gone.
Oh yeah, he could fly.
At that age, you just turn around and pitch it.
But I tell you what, Richard caught him a couple of times, which you didn't see that. Not caught him, not run him down, but make a play on him before he got going.
When Kincaid was a freshman, Charles Henderson played Viger in the playoffs. And
I
boy,
remember that.
No, they played Blunt. Charles Henderson played Blunt 3 straight years.
Blunt they were just a roster full of men.
Oh, Damian Craig, nobody could tackle him that year. We played him, I think we played Damian Craig my 10th grade year, junior year, and nobody could tackle him. But Kincaid went 90 and went 85 in that game for touchdowns.
He had over 300 yards in rushing.
This was when he was a 9th grader. And Charles Henderson played tough. Those guys were super physical, and Charles Henderson didn't back down, but they didn't have the people to hang with Blunt. But I can remember Kincaid running the ball even as a 9th grader, and he could hang with them.
One of the great games, Mike will testify to this, and most anybody that knows me, I'm a name guy. I love certain names, and one of the best names I've ever broadcast was, and at tailback, Ronaldo Kincaid Pennington. What was his number, Mike?
Kincaid, 32 or no? I can't remember what his number was.
But his name was Ronaldo Kincaid Pennington. And listen, if you go to Elba today and say the greatest player you've ever seen play in your stadium down here, or if you went to Op and said who was one of the greatest players you ever seen play in this stadium, they would say it was that guy over at Charles Henderson named C.K. Pennington. He gained over 300 yards 2 years in a row against good Elba teams. and Johnny Sharpless told me one day, played at Alabama, said, man, where did this guy come from? And I told him, I said, before the game, I said, Johnny, boy, Charles Henderson got a great player. Of course, Elba had several great players.
Who was the running back Elba had?
Horsteads. All those
went to
Alabama.
And
Op, you're speaking on Op. Op had a great player too, Aaron Hightower.
Yeah, that's right. Real good player. But hey,
as good as Mike DeBose, probably.
But this guy, Ronaldo Kincaid Pennington, could fly.
He was the fastest guy in the state too. He was the 100-meter champion in the track guy.
Oh yeah, no question about it. A great track guy. And I'll tell you something else about him that'll tickle a lot of folks.
But then you look at Pike County, and they had Quincy Jackson and Cornelius Williams.
That's sure
Cornelius Griffin.
Cornelius Griffin, yeah.
Cornelius Griffin.
Yeah, I saw Cornelius when I was going down doing a preseason story back in my reporter days. Hadn't been to Brundage much, but I went down there and said I got to do a feature and take some pictures. and I saw this big old guy. He was
all neck, wasn't he?
He looked like an NFL football player right then.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you the sad thing about a lot of this, about Cornelius Griffin. Out of high school, he was signed by Auburn. He was going to Auburn. I mean, the great guy, his buddy played with the Jets, Mike.
Fred Baxter.
Baxter, and he was going to Auburn.
Story for Alabama fans.
He was going to Auburn, and so he, I don't know what happened, but he went to a junior college. And at a junior college, Alabama got him. And
because his cousin, Quincy Jackson,
was
at Alabama. Quincy was a fantastic
very good player. Yeah.
He won the LSU games for Alabama his senior year.
And the kid from Brundage that we probably don't think about as much.
The top player on that team was a guy that didn't even play college ball to me, was that Carlos Carlisle. He was unbelievable running back and linebacker for them on that team.
They had great teams, no question.
They also had, of course, Stephen Coleman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nuco Coleman.
He was pretty good, wasn't he? In fact, that record of 104 touchdowns was a state record. I don't know if it's ever been broken or not in his career. 104.
He was Mr. Football in the state of Alabama his senior year.
But let me tell you maybe the great one, maybe the best of them all, who really had a very good college career but didn't go in the pros, was the young man that played quarterback at Vanderbilt. He started 3 or 4 years.
Chris Nixon?
Yeah, Nixon started 3 or 4 years at Vanderbilt, didn't he?
Yeah, he was state football, Mr. Football in Alabama, too.
He followed the quarterback Cutler that went to the Bears. Right. And, Alabama offered him as a safety. And I remember lobbying that Coach Shula, you're making a terrible mistake. But, looking back at how his career turned out, Shula might have known something, because Nixon, as a safety, might have been an even better player than he was as a quarterback.
He was a great athlete, and they just came out of that place. Like I've always said, if I had to get a helmet down here, I'd put it in it. When a kid was born in Pike County, lived in Brundage, there would be somebody, I don't know who did, would put a Pike County helmet in his crib, yeah.
Well, they always had, back when I was covering, they only had like 25 players on the roster, and then there'd be about 14 that would actually play.
Well, every one of them, you're right. And everybody say, oh, God, they beat that team 54-0 or beat that team 60-0. Well, he'd have 19 players sometimes, and he couldn't substitute without sending a good player. Every one of them was good. It was hard to, what do? You tell them, I don't want you to try now. I don't even want you to even try to score or anything like that. I mean, he couldn't have said that.
And they had a reputation as being a nasty football team, but they weren't. I watched too many games that they just played super hard.
A lot of people think this. I think he was a great defensive coach. I think he was a better defensive coach than he was an offensive coach.
Coach Grant?
Yeah, Coach Grant. But I tell you what he loved to do is run off the tackles. He still the same way. He ran the ball off tackle. He wasn't fancy at all. You never did see him run a reverse. They just ran right at you. And he just taught his team to block, and that's the name of the game.
They were all ultra. They were fearless, super aggressive, 100 miles an hour every play.
Exactly right.
Boy, they were fun to watch, and it's just they had so few players, but they still won a state championship or were competing for one every year, and then it got to the point where nobody in their division would play them, so they had to play all these big schools to fill out their schedule.
I want to mention First Cahaba Bank, located on right off of John Withington Drive and also of Publix Parkway here in Troy. A wonderful new bank, and we appreciate them very much. I want to say hello to Jason, my very good friend and owner of Pioneer, our premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram trucks on the bypass. Did you see what he's already done? He's already given $70,000 to the school systems in Pike County. And mainly because of a program he started where when they sell a new car or truck, he would put $200 in this little account over here. And when there was a certain amount of money in there, he would give it to the elementary schools all over Pike County.
You know, that endows
$70,000 in cash.
That will more than pay a teacher's salary for 1 year.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And but Jason, we appreciate all that you've done since you've been here. The new owner, of course, of a brand new dealership, and Jason Gregory should get. I tell you what, if Troy Cable gave a
citizenship award,
citizenship award, or he'd probably get it because he has really done a great job of giving back since he's been in Troy, and of course he loves Troy, and he does the same thing over the university. He's constantly promoting his dealership, and we appreciate him very much. Of course, we've got a lot going on this weekend with the big tournament in Montgomery. Mike, it's enough said
that he's off there.
That the tournament's going to be at Riverfront Stadium in Montgomery. That'll be at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, so you have to get up early. I got up at 10 o'clock and ran up to Montgomery and was running a little bit late. And when I got there, Pike had just gone ahead 1-0. I want you to hear this, over Bessemer. And Pike was really had a great performance from their team. Defensively, they were making every play, and they were hitting the ball, and their pitcher was just mowing them down. And so Bessemer finally got a couple of guys on base, with two people on base, and it was 1 out. And the hitter, there was one batter, one person on first and one person on third, and the batter hit a ball to left field. Wait a minute, the bases were loaded. Excuse me. And the batter hit a ball to left field, and left fielder makes a great catch. The girl on third base tags up and starts running to home. The girl for Pike, I wish I could remember her name, but she threw a strike to home plate, and the ball hit the runner right in the back when it got to the catcher. So the ball ricochets off the runner, rolls down to first base. They not only scored that run, but the other run came all the way around from second, and the girl, this other guy comes around all the way from third. They scored 3 runs on that one play.
Fluke play was a good throw.
And they beat Pike 3-2. Morgan Bundy hit a big home run to cut it to 3-2. But this defense and pitching for Bessemer was able to hold them off, and Pike lost the game 3-2, or they would have advanced to
Isn't
the
it
final
funny
round.
how we remember all the heartbreaking losses? You probably remember them more than you
Well,
do.
I tell you what, though, they really got a good program at Pike, a very good program. I was out there the other day. Their field is immaculate for girls and boys, and their boys team, of course, plays the big one this Wednesday morning at Riverwalk Stadium. That's the home of the Biscuits now.
Well, everybody needs to go.
That's right.
Well, people have to get off work. So
exactly right. Take off work and get your kids and go up and watch this outstanding team from Pike Liberal Arts play baseball. And, of course, they've got a pitcher at Pike. His name is Holt Steed. He's left-handed, just a junior. He'll probably get the start for Pike, and he is a very good.
Sounds like they got several underclassmen on the plan.
And then they've got this Sykes kid, Jaden Sykes is a great player, and they've just got a very good program. They're coached by Adam Ponder, who is going into the Alabama Independent School Hall of Fame. And this guy now is not very old, but he's already gone into the Hall of Fame at Auburn Montgomery, and now he's going to go into the National Hall of Fame for independent schools.
What position did he play as a player?
He was a pitcher he was a pitcher
that also played in the field.
And played in the field, but he went on scholarship to Alabama, played there a couple of years, and he finished up his career at AUM under QB Lowe, a real good. Then he signed a professional contract, played professional ball for a while. He actually went to Lee Scott. He was actually from the Opelika area, went to Lee Scott, and was known to be one of the great all-around athletes. He's an outstanding basketball player. He's an outstanding basketball coach. He's an outstanding baseball player. He is an outstanding coach. And he could coach football if he wanted to. I mean, he's just that good.
We're so lucky to have him in Pike County.
No question about it.
When I lived in Opelika in the mid-'70s, I can remember where there was a Lee Academy and a Scott Academy.
Exactly right.
And so then they merged them.
Bob Booth coached for both of them.
Really?
Bob Booth coached at Lee Academy, and then he later on coached at Scott Academy. He went undefeated at Scott Academy one year.
Bob Booth.
Bob Booth. Hey, man, don't think he couldn't coach. He could coach.
Well, he coached at Pike County High School.
Oh, yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
Goshen, too. Took Goshen to a state championship. So, and they had a good quarterback that was a real good player named Steve Sanders was his coach. I tell you something about Booth's teams at Goshen. All I wore, you remember when people wore the neck harnesses?
Yeah.
Every one of their players wore that. Even the quarterback wore that.
Yeah.
I've never seen a team do it. And he also made sure that he had the black stuff under his eyes.
Remember, everybody used to wear forearm pads and elbow pads.
Yeah, but Booth had them looking sharp, too. And they went undefeated. Well, no, they lost one ball game. And it was against Union Springs of all the teams that I could think
had
of.
some great teams at Goshen was Coach Helms.
He's a great coach. He got out coaching way too soon.
Well, he did well as an administrator in academics, but I love ESPN Sports Classic, and they play all the old football games.
Yeah.
I was watching an old Alabama-Auburn game a week or so ago, and they were doing the starting lineup for Auburn, and the defensive lineman they profiled was Mike Pelton from Goshen, Alabama.
That's right, from Goshen, Alabama.
Went to Auburn as a linebacker, and he grew into a defensive lineman.
He's a fine coach, too, and all these guys are doing well, and we appreciate them. We're going to take a short break. This show is brought to you by Dixieland Dental, located 9 miles north of Dothan on Highway 231. Dr. Michael Precise, Dr. John Strength, Dr. Robert Precise, and all the great folks there. We appreciate them very much. And also Pike County Ford. If they don't say Pike County Ford, believe you me, you don't want it. And we appreciate them so very much. We'll be right back with more of Today in L.A.
Troy Cable Security makes it easy to stay aware and stay in control of your home wherever you are. User-friendly interface allows easy navigation for lights, locks thermostat, video, and garage doors. Never worry about leaving your garage door open or the front door unlocked. Your mobile app can send alerts to your phone for alarm and no alarm events. Know when your children arrive home from school with video response. Make sure your home is powered by Troy Cable Security for ultimate access, awareness, and protection.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Have you seen an increase in your insurance premiums or significant change in your insurance coverage? Let Sandbeck Insurance offer you a better plan to suit your business or personal needs. Sandbeck Insurance offers many lines of insurance, whether it's home, farm, or auto insurance, work comp, business, or health and life policies. Sandbeck is here for you. Call or visit our Troy, Enterprise, or Andalusia office today. Sandbeck Insurance, where we take pride in taking care of your insurance needs.
Back to our show, of course, brought to you again by Pike County Ford on the bypass right in Troy. And also Alabama Real Estate Connection. See Carol Amos today. Call her at 566-6965 or 372-2000 or 672-001.
How did Carol get into the real estate business?
Oh, I don't know. She's been in it a long time. I know this. And of course, her daddy owned a bunch of land. That had a lot to do with it. Yeah. But of course, talking about the late great Roy Crow, and boy, I think of people that came to this town and made something happen. he was that kind of guy, and he was originally from Birmingham, and back in the World War II days, he owned a bus line, and the bus line went from Mobile over to Panama, the Panhandle, up to Columbus, Georgia, back down to Montgomery, and then all the way back down to Florida. During the war, he carried troops, and he owned about 100 buses at one time.
Wow.
And then his brother from Birmingham owned the Capital Trailways bus line. You've heard of that?
Yes.
All right, that was his brother. Well, he sold out to his brother after the war, and he went into some other businesses. But and then his brother's estate, the Crow estate, still owns Capital Trailways.
Well, what got Mr. Crow to Troy?
Well, that bus line.
Right.
That bus line. He married a guy, married a lady from Baldwin County, Bayonet. That was one of his stops. He used to drive the bus years ago.
I bet.
Back during the war, and he had government contracts to bus these troops from the base in Pensacola, the Navy base, to the big Army base in Columbus, Georgia, Fort Benning. Then the big helicopter base at Rucker, and then the Air Force base in Tuskegee. That was a pretty big base there in Tuskegee.
Right, yeah.
So that's pretty much how he got to Troy, and he was looking for a house, and Miss Bashinsky, you heard of Miss Bashinsky, lived right up on the corner there of Pine Street and West College Street, that beautiful antebellum home. Well, her son was moving back to Birmingham and was trying to sell his house. And when my father-in-law, he lived over on Elm Street for a while, but when that house came open, he bought that big Tudor house on the corner there of Murphy and Pine. And, and that's where my wife was raised in that part of the town.
That's a Patterson house now?
That's a Patterson house now. And, of course, that area of town, we were talking yesterday, and how lucky we are that tornado did not stay on the ground any longer. By bouncing around, it didn't destroy near as many houses as it could have.
Our signature,
if it would have stayed on the ground, it would have destroyed all those beautiful homes.
We have some beautiful homes, but those are the distinctive homes that we don't have any others like that. We were so lucky.
Very, very fortunate, and of course Jim O'Neill. I'm glad it bounced over the Span house and went on down the road, or it would have hit Jim while he was eating his oatmeal. I'll always mention that to Jim when I see him. I said, "Have you had any good oatmeal lately?" Because he was sitting there eating the oatmeal, and he watched. And this is not funny because it knocked down the tower of that gigantic, beautiful Span house next door. But that seemed to be all the damage that was done was it knocked off that big tower there. And Jim was sitting there while that was going on and eating his oatmeal.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I told you off air that you asked me what I did this weekend, and I mentioned that I got a stump removed from my front yard. And here's how I got that stump removed. Some guy just happened to be drive a pickup truck that has a stump remover on the back of his car.
I know who you're talking about.
Well, he pulls in and he comes, knocks on my door and says, "You want your stump removed?" And I really want my vinyl siding pressure washed. And I said, "No, but if you can pressure wash my vinyl siding, I'll do that." And he said, "Well, I can't do that." And then I almost after that, I said, "Well, how much would you charge me to remove the stump?" That probably got him because he knew I wasn't going to spend much. And he said $70, and I said, "Deal. Go ahead and."
No question about it.
Well, he removed my stump, and then he removed one from the Webb's yard, my next door neighbor. And I said, "What in the world brought you to my house?" He said, "Well, I'm living in Dothan, and I heard about this tornado y'all had." I said,
That's right.
And he said, "Well, I can't find any tornado damage." And I said, "Well, you finish up with our stump and the Webb stump, and I'll drive you around and show you the tornado
there's
damage."
a legend behind all of Troy, and of course, we need to get my truck. All we have to do is just ride a few blocks, and you'll come up with a story. But Hobbs Candy Company's daughter just sat down out here just a while ago, and Of course, that was a big candy company in Troy that a lot of people remember back in the old days of Trojan Terrace.
I've heard you talk about it,
And,
yes.
and her, where she lived, her daddy knew more about grass than anybody in Troy. Had the prettiest lawn you've ever seen in your life. Georgia, you know, the thick Georgia grass.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I always wanted to play football on that grass.
Uh-huh.
There's a story behind most everybody.
Well, and then you talk about football. I'm thinking about growing up in Opelika and then moving to Troy. There was always 2 or 3 yards that were just clay because so many kids had played baseball and football in those yards.
Jam Green's yard on Orange Street, the same way. Hope you've enjoyed our show. We're brought to you by Bill Jackson Chevrolet on the bypass. We'll be right back here tomorrow, right here for our show on Today in L.A. You can watch us again at 1:30 today in L.A. See you then.